Hi there, this is Srikanth Sari. So, in this lesson, we are going to introduce ourselves to object-oriented programming with C++. Okay. So first, before doing that, let us see how to download and install the IDE which we are going to use, which is Visual Studio 2013 for Windows Desktop. So first, let me launch the web browser here, which is Google Chrome. It's taking a moment to load. Okay, so if you type Visual Studio 2013 Express, okay, so you get the very first website, which is visualstudio.com. So here you have a very good IDE from Microsoft. So what is an IDE? So IDE is abbreviated as Integrated Development Environment, which is very comfortable way to write code. So it's always a best practice to use as advanced IDEs as possible. Like the one I prefer the most to use in all my programming courses is Visual Studio, and that too for Windows desktop here. Okay, so this one is very good for coding Visual C++. Not only C++, you can also code C Sharp and other programming .NET compatible programming language. So that's a huge whole lot of issues integrated with this development environment here. Okay, so apart from this website, you can also download this wonderful IDE directly from Microsoft website. So if you go to microsoft.com or else if you visit the third link here, so you'll be navigated directly to their the most latest version, or else update 4 or update 3. So you can search in this search bar, where they provide a good search bar there. So from there you can download that. And the last option, which is this website, hanselman.com. So he is a Microsoft employee, Scott Hanselman. So he maintains a good site here where you have a whole lot of options to download the individual versions of Visual Studio Express editions. Okay, so the Express editions are the free and very basic versions, lightweight versions. Although 2013 Express is not that lightweight when compared to my system is an ancient system here. Okay, so you can use these express editions, which are very free versions, and happily download and install. So if you click on this link, you will be downloaded here. So all since I have downloaded and installed in my PC, so this is how it looks like when I open it. Okay, so I'm just launching the IDE, so which we are going to use here. Okay, so after launching the IDE, the first thing we need to do is we need to create a project here. So let's click File, a new project. So it shows you a bunch of options here. Okay, so in that you select Visual C++. So since Visual C++ is the Microsoft implementation of the language, so happily you can do normal C++ coding. So let's name our project as so whatever you wanted, let's name it as intro to oops. So whatever you wanted, you can name your project. So let's just click OK. You can select empty, or even though you don't select, nothing happens here. So general tab, we need to select the general tab and empty project here, and let's click OK here. So what happens now is this wonderful IDE creates a blank folder structure here on the right hand side in the solution explorer. So if you observe, so here you get all the empty folder structure in the project under the name intro to oops, which is the name of the project we have given here. So in that, the main thing concerns to us is this source files folder here. Okay, so right click on that and add new item, and you need to add an item here. Okay, so let's name the source file as so class.cpp. It's the default extension here. Okay, so if you want, you can name your source file, or else you can keep it by default, which is source.cpp here. Okay, so if you click enter, so what happens is the IDE, this wonderful IDE, creates a blank .cpp class.cpp file here, blank template. So here we need to write the code. So to begin that, let's go to full screen here, so that we don't have any distractions. So I'm just adding the first initial thing in C++, which is the header files here, iostream.h. So iostream, and then the next very basic website header file, so coneo.h. So all the basic stuff here. So let me say using namespace stt. Okay, so these are the very three basic things: the header files and the namespace. Okay, so now here our intention is to learn about object-oriented programming, or introduce ourselves to the very basic concept in object-oriented programming, which is a class here. Okay, so the definition of a class in C++ goes like this. We need to use the keyword class followed by the name of the class here. So let's name the name of our class is as program. So one thing you need to remember is that when you are naming a class, all the rules which you keep in mind when you are declaring a variable or a structure or a function, so all those things will apply the same, one and the same here. Okay, so you can't run around and say, you can say something like this. Okay, so if you say one program, then you are in trouble here. Okay, so a variable or a name of a variable or a structure or a function should always start with a letter. Okay, so you need to recollect all those rules which you had studied in old school programming days, or you have studied in a very recent in C programming language, so you can go through and revise those ones here. Okay, so this is the basic structure of the class. The Visual Studio has the privilege of automatically adding this braces and closing semicolon. So closing semicolon is also very essential. It shows indicates the compiler that the class ends here. Okay, so inside the class we have three main things which are known as access specifiers. Okay, so class is nothing but an encapsulated way or an example of an encapsulation where you can take the definition of encapsulation as so let me write that in comment here. So class is an example of encapsulation. So what is encapsulation? It's wrapping up of data. So wrapping of data and member functions, data members and member functions. So we will see in a moment, or let's say member functions. Okay, so data and member functions into a single unit is known as, okay, into a single unit. Okay, that's known as the definition. That's the definition of encapsulation here. Okay, so the class is a mere example of this encapsulation concept in object-oriented programming. Okay, so if you recollect the structures in C, so there you don't have you just have the different kinds of data types grouped under a single name, so which is known as a structure. So classes is more advanced than structures. So here you have not only just individual data members but also functions to operate on that data here. Okay, so let's look into this example here. So here you can declare, so before going to that so we need to use the access specifiers. Okay, so when you are using defining a class here. Okay, so there are three main access specifiers. The first one is private, the second one is public, the third one is protected. Okay, so here all the data members, whatever you are going to use in your class, sits under this private section here. Okay, so the public section consists of the member functions. So let's say, so void fun1. Okay, and let's say, let's take another function also, void fun2. Okay, so here I have taken two member functions, or the definition of member function is that, let's write in a comment here. So member function, the function can be defined something like this. The function which is defined inside a class, the function which is defined inside a class is known as a member function. Okay, so that's the only difference between a function and a member function. Okay, so if you have a function encapsulated within a class, then you can say that function as a member function. So all these private variables can be known as data members or members. Let's say data members here. Okay, So the combination of these data members and member functions into a single unit is nothing but class here. Okay, so here you have two member functions and you have two data members. So first let me initialize the some data into it. Let's say x1 is equal to 10. Let's print that data here. So okay, so let me say some message /n/t. Let's say so x1 is equal to and x1 here. Okay, so in the same way let's take x2, so is equal to 20, and let's print that value. Okay, so here we have taken two functions, very ordinary, very quite common program. So what I am doing is just printing, assigning some value using the first function, using function 1 I am assigning the value x1 to 10, and using the function 2 I am assigning the value x2 to 20 here. Okay, just outputted them. So now the protected, this access specifier, let's study in the, when we study inheritance, then you use this protected member function, protected access specifier. Okay, so until that time we don't need this one, so I'm just removing it. Okay, in the future lessons, so when we study about inheritance, so you will come across that. Okay, so let me write a small comment about this access specifier. Okay, so now so mere defining a class can do nothing to us. So we need a main function, and we need to define an object to a class and then call those member functions such that we can perform the operations whatever we intended to do here. Okay, so let me take the main function here. Let me write void main. Okay, so here we need to create an object here. So let's say to create an object, the syntax goes like this: the name of the class program, and let's say the name of the object is p1 here. Okay, so object is nothing but an instance of a class here. Okay, so if you want to access the data members of a class, you need to data members are member functions of a class, so you need to use an object here. Okay, so that's the reason defining an object here. Let's write a comment here, defining creating an object, or let's say creating an object. Okay, so here, so in order to call those functions, you need to use this syntax here. Okay, if you say p1 dot fun1, so then that function gets called. In the same way, if you say p1 dot fun2, so the next function gets called here. Okay, so let's write a comment here. It's accessing the member functions. So with an object. Okay, so that's what we have done in this syntax here. Okay, so we have created an object to this program class, and then we are accessing the member functions of this class using this object and dot operator here. Okay, so this is the syntax you need to follow. So if you run this program, so as you know that in order to run the program, we need to use F5. So let's have this getch syntax here. So getch is quite, it's a bit different when you are programming in IDEs like Visual Studio. So you need to use this underscore since the normal getch is deprecated. Okay, so F5. So if everything goes well, you need to get the output here. Okay, so this is the expected output here. Okay, so x1 is equal to 10 and x2 is equal to 20. So that's what we have done here. We have taken two variables. So first let me make it this bit bigger. So that, okay, so x1 is equal to 20 and x2 is equal to x1 is equal to 10, x2 is equal to 20. That's what we have expected here. So here in our program, so come back to your program. So we have taken two variables. To revise once again, the class is nothing but an encapsulated way of taking or grouping up of data members and member functions together into a single unit here. So for that purpose, we have taken defined a class here called program, and then we have taken two data members, which is x1 and x2, and then we have taken a access specifier such that all the member functions should sit under this public access specifier. Okay, so if you keep unfortunately if you omit this access specifier, then you might not access. Okay, so you get an error here. Okay, so that's the reason, because if you don't specify this access specifier public, so then automatically the whole function definitions will be taken under the private section here. Okay, so for that reason, you're unable to access since you're unable to access the member functions, you are getting an error here. Okay, so if you come back to normal mode, then everything should work fine for you. Okay, so while defining classes, you need to so the default access specifier for a class in C++ is private here. Okay, so what happens is, if you don't specify the private also explicitly, so both the data members were taken as the private as private access specifier. Okay, so they were hidden from the access of main here. This is also comes under data abstraction. Okay, so which you'll learn in the further subsequent lessons or in theoretical lectures. So also if you the default access specifier for a class in C++ is private. So if you unfortunately if you don't put an access specifier, and all the data members and member functions will fall into the private category, and then you'll not be able to access the these functions outside your class here. Okay, so this is the basic stuff about the class definition and creating an object to a class and calling the member functions. So see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.